Kick is on the way, and it is good! It's good!
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe it? They're at home. Yes!
All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness, the podcast that focuses on sports cards, collectibles, the hobby, and everything else in between. I am here again with LZ, and we're ready to get into it. LZ, what's going on?
I am also ready to get into it, Nick. Yeah, I'm
So,
doing good.
I think this is what, the autograph show? Is that what you want to call it? Something like that?
Yeah, probably need something more catchy than that. But yeah, it's the autograph show,
All
which
right.
is very popular right now. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. Let's talk about autographs.
I think the goal of this is to show everybody how to get autographs done, whether it's a celebrity, an athlete, whatever. I feel like we've learned a thing or two over the last couple of years, and we've been pretty effective at it. So, I'm happy to kind of share that with the audience.
Yeah, agreed, Nick. I feel like we touched on this at one point in a previous episode, but I was thinking about this episode today and what we wanted to talk about. And one of the things I was rattling in my brain is any autograph you get put on a card, like what does it do to that card? Like, sure, there's the experience, there's the story behind it, but I know many of our audience is just, it's more of the financials of a card, like the value of it. I think, and let's debate this right now, actually.
Sure.
I think that if you get an autograph on a card, it at least 10x's the value. What do you think? Do you think it's 10x?
I agree. So if you're 10xing on trash, then I totally agree. Because if you go in the Facebook groups of the card discussions, people say, what do you do with base cards? Because everybody's ripping, right? They're ripping. They want that insert. They want that hit. What do you do with all the junk base cards? Do you like laminate your table with them or what? Like you'd be surprised. Like if you get like a 50 cent or I guess a card that's worth nothing to you, if you get that signed, it's at least $10, right? Potentially $100, even if it's just a regular sort of player. Never mind if it's a rookie card.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, right? Like a base card that's maybe $5. You go and get that autographed, it's $50.
Sure.
Yeah, it's 50. So I think it really is. I think we can hold our hat on that. I think it's 10x. Yeah,
I like
least.
that. Yeah. I mean, never mind. I don't know. You find Michael Jordan at the golf course or something like that. Talk about 10x. I think we have to add a 0.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Like we got started, obviously like a lot of the listeners during COVID with cards and, we were just bored, right? Like we were just looking for things to do. And LZ and I, we didn't know much about the card world. We didn't know anything about autographs. We're like, wait, you can like get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's autograph? That's like possible? We had no idea, right? We were just Googling stuff and trying to figure it out. And, over the past year or two, it's amazing. Like just in my head, I could rattle off like 50 Hall of Famers and instantly like how to get their autograph. It's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with all the forums, especially that we follow now, there's just, for those who want to get into autographs, there's so many opportunities for you to get autographs. And we're going to cover some today. But it's amazing once you get into some of these forums and you see just all the different private signings and public signings there are. And, even the forums that talk about home addresses and what to do if you go to a game and how you can get autographs there. There's just so many opportunities.
Right. And there's really two ways to go about this. It's two ways to get autographs. There's this in-person stuff that could be you just chasing at a game or whatever, or it's an organized signing and you're actually allowed to go up to the player and you pay. And then there's stuff like through the mail, which can also be random. You just find a player or a celebrity and you mail them something, or that's also organized through the mail. LZ and I have done both. And, I think for the in-person side of things, it's crazy. We would just go to Celtics games and just kind of look in awe at Jason Tatum or KD or Steph, whoever's there, right? We just go at warm-ups and we would just kind of look around and people were, crowding these like certain spots, this like particular 10 feet in the garden. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. We kind of like at the end of practice sort of waddle our way up and we're nowhere near the player, right? And then over time, we figured out what those spots were, who to follow, who the regulars are. And before you know it, it was like, I don't know, it was like a Breitling watch or something. It was like this well-oiled machine. You could go in, turn left 10 paces, down 3 flights of stairs. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it well-oiled machine. It's so funny, right? We would basically open up the door into the arena and we'd immediately look which hoop the Celtics were warming up on, because whichever hoop they warmed up on depended on where we needed to go in the arena to get autographs. And it wasn't necessarily like, all right, the left side is the Celtics and we want the Celtics, so we go to the left side. No. It was a little more art. It was a little more to it than that. So that was, it was very interesting. And we would just ask questions, at first when we were going to these games. Like, we'd go down and we'd start talking to some of the people who had been doing this for a while. And how are you doing it? Like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Like, you have your cards. Like, some people would have like cards like on a piece of cardboard to make it easier for them to sign. And which I've never done that, because to me that just feels like too much. Go to the game. I don't want to go to the game with this big bag of supplies. But it really is interesting around, I'm going to talk about again, like these junk cards that you're getting, like these 50-cent cards, right? It's when you're showing up to a game, like if you get to the right spot, like you have the ability to really get a lot of autographs from especially the visiting team and the home team. And all of a sudden you can take those junk cards of those rookies that aren't necessarily doing anything this year and very easily get them to sign for you. It just comes down to being polite and putting on a smile and, don't be a jerk
having a kid
with the other people. Yeah, have a kid with you. Definitely helps. Yeah, it certainly does. When I go to a lot of games now with either my son or my daughter, and bringing them certainly helps. But a lot of players are great. They interact with especially my kids, take photos with them and shake their hands. And but yeah, it's certainly an experience and an art to it. And we're fortunate enough that we can go to these games and get in, and that helps. But there are also forums that you can look up for every game, for every arena, like how to go about doing this, like how to get in early and what row you need to go down and what section you need to stand in. So
that's what I'd recommend, for the audience. The actionable tip here is go to some games. You're probably going anyway. See what people are up front getting autographs. Buy them a beer, buy them a hot dog, talk to them. Hey, what time you get here? What door you use? What spot, what section?
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, for every single one of your arenas, you've got experts like me and LZ for the Celtics.
Yeah. I mean, I love when someone comes down new. Like if I am down there trying to get an autograph with one of my kids and someone, you can tell they're new to this and they start asking me questions. I mean, I love talking to them about it. Go, yeah, Marcus Smart doesn't usually sign, so don't get your hopes up if he doesn't sign. If Jason Tatum comes out of this tunnel, there's a good chance he is going to come over here and sign. So yeah, that's just a lesson learned. Don't be afraid to ask, and buy him a hot dog, buy him a beer. That makes a world of difference too.
I've even asked the players before. I remember asking Jaren Jackson Jr. on the Grizzlies. I said, hey, when's Ja coming out? And Jaren Jackson goes, oh man, he always comes out last. He wants the attention and he's not signing anything, man. He's going to throw the hoodie over his head and go. I'm like, all right, thanks. But Jaren was signing stuff, which is pretty cool. So it's funny. Now I know, so that's like in person at arenas. I know there's somebody I actually follow on Instagram, Scott. He's SI King or Sports Illustrated King. and he goes chasing at arenas and beyond. So he's almost like paparazzi or TMC. This is like another level that LZ and I have not gotten to. You know, he'll get like a tip. You know, somebody like Charles Barkley's coming in on flight, and that flight's landing at 2:30, and he's getting his own baggage
Scott's
and
there.
doing his thing. And Scott is there, baby. You know, he's ready to roll. Limos pull up to a restaurant, Scott's there. You know, and I think he's actually taking consignments now. So you can find him on Instagram. That might not
He
be
is.
his exact handle, but
Yeah.
you can say, hey, you know, I want a Patrick Mahomes card signed, you know, this year or something like that. And, you know, he may just say, I can't do that. Or maybe that's like an exorbitant price. But, you know, there are avenues like that as well. Team hotels are kind of something that regular people do, but he kicks it up a notch.
Mm-hmm. I want to have the opportunity to follow Scott around for one night, just
Yes.
one night, because I've gone back and forth with Scott. He's a great guy over email and what have you. And he's said to me like, oh yeah, well, for me to get this autograph, like I have to be like outside the club at 3 a.m. when that athlete leaves or that celebrity leaves at 3 a.m. And I mean, talk about being passionate about what you do and grinding, but he's so successful. But yeah, so that is certainly something, you know, definitely try to follow Scott. You'll probably learn a couple things just by following him. But yeah, that takes it to a whole nother level.
I'm not there yet. I'm in like
No.
single A ball, I think, compared to him, something like that. It's
Yeah.
impressive. I mean, it's really cool. I don't think I
Mhm.
have the energy, but God bless him. He's got a great collection. I think he's got, I don't know how many, but it's like a bazillion, you know, Sports Illustrated covers
Oh.
signed.
Yeah, that is definitely his focus is Sports Illustrated. It's amazing. It's amazing what he has. He does do consignments. I actually have a couple that I've sent to him that I want him to go try to hunt for me right now. So
Cool.
definitely check that out.
All right. It'd be interesting to see who you go after through him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll share with you. One of them he's going to try to get for me is Barkley.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see. He's already kind of shared with me kind of the different attempts he's going to try to do it at. Like he's got a few spots where he knows he's going to show up. So fingers crossed
Very
that I
cool.
can get Barkley through Scott. So he's great at consigning and, you know, hunting things down. Another good one, especially, I mean, he does all sports, but one of the ones that I think he's really strong at is for baseball, for MLB, is Powers Sports Memorabilia. He's great, very professional. You know, his website's very polished. He does a lot of social media. He does a lot of baseball, like, you know, Nolan Ryan, Pedro Martinez I've seen on there lately, Ricky Henderson. One of my buddies, actually, this is a cool story. One of my buddies actually did the latest Acuna signing through Powers, and he loves Acuna. And you know, next big thing, he wants to invest in anything he can do with Acuna. So he went and got 10 PSA 10 rookie cards, just different ones, including Kaboom's. Like he spent some good money on these, and he went and he cracked every single one of them, and he
Wow.
sent them all to Powers. Every one of them.
Those tile cutters gotta work out that day.
They did. Speaking of the 10X, I don't know what those would do, but if you have a PSA 10 and you're sending it to a professional signing, so that's probably the one thing too. When you go to a game, you cannot expect to get auto 10s when you go into a game. Some of the athletes actually have their own Sharpie that by the time it gets to you is a little dried out. So it's streaky. For instance, Luca has his own Sharpie. Jason Tatum has his own Sharpie. I always try to give them mine, but they don't ever take it. So, but here he is, my friend, right? He's got these PSA 10s. There's a good chance if he sent in 10 of them, I wouldn't doubt that 7 of them are going to come back at least PSA 10 autos.
That is the gamble. When
Yeah,
you
it
do
is a gamble.
that, you're immediately, it's like driving a new car off the lot. That thing has lost 10%. Like right away, you've
Oh,
cracked
yeah.
the PSA 10 open. There's no
Mhm.
guarantee you'll get it back. They don't care if you include the label. I do that sometimes. Doesn't influence them at all. So if he's sending enough in, well, he probably will get a PSA 10. And to your point, when you're at a game, I don't know, you're better than me. I'm a little sloppy. I ding up the corners. I'm excited about the player. I drop it on the floor. Like, it's not easy to keep the card in good shape when you're like there in person.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a
Well,
formal signing like that, like for the audience, Power Sports memorabilia is mostly through the mail. So you'll actually mail him stuff, and he has these professional relationships with not only players directly, but with agencies that represent the players. And he's sort of the middleman for that. And it's great because you can like trust him, and he's like, he's super responsible and responsive. So yeah, it's a great place. Like you said, he does all sports, everything from boxing to baseball to basketball. You mail it in. It's all automated. You get an email the second they've received it. You get an email when they're shipping it. And I mean, I trusted him with the 1980 rookie card that's signed by Magic. At the time, it was signed by Magic and not by Bird, and Dr. J, but not by Bird. And I sent it in to Larry Bird. And I honestly, there were a bunch of people managing that signing. This card, I kind of wanted Matt to handle, and he did a great job. Like, it was perfect.
Yep. I did as well. Same exact thing as you.
Yeah.
Same exact.
So I'd recommend signing up for his email list or just following him on Instagram. He is actually my personal feed in terms of signings coming up. I'd say he's number one. And then there are some Facebook groups. If you just Google like private signings or NBA private signings, they're pretty good too. And LZ mentioned early on in the pod, SCN, which is gosh, what does that stand for, LZ? It's sportscollectors.net. Yeah, I think that's it. Sportscollectors.net. Just Google SCN Sports Collectors. And if you go on there, I think it's $15 a year. You can get access to a feed, it's like private signings. There's people on that will even say like, hey, is anybody interested in like Jerry West? What would you pay? Or something like that. So it's pretty cool. Those are two great resources just to see all sports, everything that's coming. And then there's more like hidden gems, like Magic, for instance. So LZ, how do you get in touch with Magic? How do you get Magic to sign something? That's a little trickier.
Yeah, Magic is a little trickier. He goes through an exclusive smaller organization. I don't know what else they do. I'm sure they do other signings. But yes, you have to work directly with like a manager, and you got to email them or call them and work through that.
Yeah, I think it's Press Pass Collectibles, right? They have his exclusives. So if you
no, Press Pass is pretty big then. Press Pass does a lot. I forgot. It is Press Pass. So yeah, you got to work with them. It's a costly autograph, especially for a rookie card. Right. But that's another one that I definitely trust because I've sent a few that direction. I know you have as well, and they do a good job over there.
Yeah, he only signs a couple times a year. So if you ever want something from Magic, what you do is you just send it into them. They hold it for you until he signs. Sometimes you get lucky and it's a week later. Sometimes it's 6 months later. It's all on Magic's schedule.
Yeah. Then you also, Nick, I think you've already touched on this one with someone like Kareem. Kareem actually kind of does it himself. He's got a charitable organization that, he donates a lot of money to, and a lot of the proceeds from these autographs goes to that. I believe that he actually manages that one. This isn't something that, he's having a third party agency like a lot of these other players are doing. So, can you tell us anything more about Kareem?
Yeah, this was one of the first ones I discovered because I was just like, what? Kareem will just sign anything? Like, this is Kareem. And it just opened up this world to me. So there's a few players. Oscar Robertson's another one that comes to mind. There's a few. that they kind of have like their own website. Obviously, it's run by somebody, right?
Mm.
And they'll take your items. You go on, you say basketball jersey, card, rookie card, and there's prices for each thing. You specify the pen color you want. You can send an image of the item. You can even print out the item and just write like his name in your handwriting where you want it and send it to them. And they do such a good job. You can even like pay to get a video of him signing your thing, which I think is like really cool. And they're super responsive. They send it back within a few days. The probably the easiest way to find that, I would just Google Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, make your own memorabilia, something like that. That should take you to a site. Yeah, you can get anything you want signed by Kareem, I would say within a month round trip.
That's
Pretty
great.
cool. I mean,
Yeah,
for
that's
you know,
fast.
like a top 3, player ever, something
Mhm.
like that. So
Mhm.
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. One thing you said that I think might be even just a cool little segue to go to is when you're sending in these cards, how best to do it. And one of them that I didn't do for the first couple, I didn't end up getting screwed, but I could have, is when like Post-its needs to be your best friend. What you need to do is you need to put a Post-it on the back of your card with your name, probably phone number. I actually do name, address, phone number, and email because I don't want this, because what's going to happen is you're sending in all these cards to, for instance, to a private signing, like we mentioned Power Sports memorabilia, or some of the other ones we mentioned as well. They're receiving like 100 cards, right? And let's say, just for argument's sake, they receive 100 Magic Johnson rookie cards. If you don't put your name on that thing and it's very clear that it's yours, um, it could get you could get screwed, right? Like, especially if you're opening up a PSA, maybe you crack like a PSA 8 of something, and all of a sudden it comes back and it's like a PSA 4. So make sure that you label the back of your card.
Get the
And
pen
then,
color on that thing too. That's important. Blue
yeah,
Sharpie, whatever you want. Put
yeah,
that on the
what you
Post-it too.
want. Mm-hmm. And I think also, if you care where the autograph goes, most signings will allow you to dictate on the front of the card, if that's where you want the autograph, like where you want it. So just a smaller Post-it with some arrows maybe that kind of show the section, this part of the front of the card, if you could sign. So that's important to
Yeah, I
do.
mean, this applies to what we've been talking about here is just mail-in stuff, right? So mail it to Powers, who goes to the signing. It's private. You can't go. You're a regular
Mhm.
citizen. Unfortunately, as much as you love to see Larry Bird in person. So that's one way to do it. The other way is, some of these guys are at shows. I know Walt Frazier in particular was at the Shriners show, which is local to us. It's like a 300 plus table regional show in New England. And they're there with their management. I think I don't know who it is for Walt. I know Dr. J came, and it was Famous Inc. I think was his management company. So that's a little different. You're not going to need all the packing and posted and stuff like that. You literally you have the card. You might even buy it at the show. You pay for your ticket, get in line, go up, sign it, you're done. And the cool thing there for me, these are some of my favorite cards. Like, I have a lot of autograph sets. I'm buying them from people, I'm sending them through the mail. The ones I really remember are the ones that I got signed that way, like in person. Like Dr. J
Certainly.
signed that right in front of me. That's really cool. It adds something else to the card. So when it's possible, I'd recommend doing that a couple times.
Yeah. And it's also, you're going to save some money by doing it that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No shipping, no insurance,
Right. Mhm.
no middleman. It's just
Mhm.
you're paying the player. And unless it's like, Uber Hall of Famer, it's probably pretty affordable for the show. They kind of subsidize it a little bit.
Yeah.
The kids want reasonable autographs and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're very fortunate that we do have a lot of shows around us that actually do have some sort of celebrity or retired athlete at. So yeah, definitely look into your local shows, probably a little bit bigger ones, right? I mean, your really small, like church parking lot shows are probably not going to have
Yeah.
a celebrity at them. But some of the a little bit bigger, like the ones that we go to are maybe like 60 tables. You sometimes see athletes
Yep.
at those. Yeah. And
Cool.
your local malls. There are different memorabilia stores that will also run specials, having a local athlete come in, baseball player, football player. So look that direction as well.
So LZ,
Yeah.
what about NASCAR? So,
Ooh.
my 8-year-old son
Mm.
loves racing cars, right? They're
Mhm.
cool, they're orange, they're green, whatever. He gets into it. I mean, I like it too. I'm not a huge fan, but it's fun to watch. Like I'll catch a few races. So what about those guys? Like how do you get their autographs?
I actually recommend NASCAR to anybody new who's getting into autographs. I think NASCAR is a great way to learn how to get autographs. And I say that because shoot, I don't know if I've ran into any poor NASCAR drivers that aren't going to sign for you. They are all willing to sign,
Yeah.
all of them. At races, if you're fortunate enough that you can get, the kind of the pit passes before a game and go down, they'll sit there and sign all day long, all day, and they'll talk to you, they'll smile, they'll take pictures. But through the mail, they are fantastic. They treat your cards well. They're always signing with Sharpie, and this is both retired and current. So, for instance, my son was just getting into autographs, right? And I said, "All right, the first thing I want you to do is let's go after some NASCARs because it's kind of like that snowball effect, right? Of getting a few wins right under your belt, and NASCAR is a great way to get a couple wins and start getting that momentum. So if you have um a kid who wants to get into this, I would recommend that. I've even had some NASCAR drivers actually like write a note back as well. So you're writing a note to the NASCAR driver, and they'll answer your questions and get back to you. So that's a great one.
So
Some of the
Richard
forums.
Petty, I mean,
Oh
Richard
yeah,
Petty, he signs like everything. It is like
everything.
100%, right?
Yeah, it is 100% Nick with Richard Petty, and his signature is really nice
Gorgeous.
too. It really is.
Yeah.
It is a gorgeous signature. Like I'm a little envious of his because
Mine looks
mine's
like
just
crap. Yeah,
oh, it's
compared to
terrible.
that.
Yeah, his is a great one. So here's another thing you can do. This would be like it could be like a quick flip for you. Find some maybe cheaper NASCAR cards that are maybe even numbered, because even like the numbered NASCAR cards you can get for like $5. Like even a Richard Petty, right? You can get a Richard Petty numbered card, like an optic or a prism card, for short money, and then mail it to him, get him to sign it. And again, I think he probably 10x that card.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he
Easy.
did. Yeah. So
Very,
you could
very
do it
cool.
with other NASCAR ones as well. I know some of them, although I still haven't run into this, but I know some of the popular ones are getting scooped up with exclusive deals by Panini. I don't know if Fanatics is doing NASCAR yet, but I definitely know Panini. Like Joey Logano, very popular NASCAR driver. He's got a deal with Panini, but I still think that I've seen him sign through the mail. So I still think you can get to him.
Yeah,
So
it's a great way, like you said, to add value. They seem to love it. And I've had like a 90% success rate with NASCAR. So it's just a great category to test out. Plus kids love
Mhm.
it.
They
So
do love it.
what about celebrities, LZ? We promised to tell the audience how to get in touch with like some big time celebrities. So what do you recommend there? I know you're good at this one.
I have a website in particular. I mean, I know Nick had mentioned SCN for sports. They're really good for sports. There are forums out there as well. There's a website called Star Tiger, and similar to SCN, it's not very much a year, but you pay a yearly fee. And similar to these other ones, they have a constant feed every single day of successes and failures. So it's a bit of a crowdsourcing type website where somebody will find a new address of, there are athletes on there. There's a lot of NASCAR on there. So I actually use Star Tiger for NASCAR, but predominantly it's celebrities on that website. And it's, hey, I found this new address for Tim Allen, Toy Story fame. We all know Tim Allen. I'm going to try it and I'll let you know how it goes. And it's just it's either a thumbs up, it went well, thumbs down. And over time, the different addresses get voted up. And then which one is the quality address to go after one of these celebrities. So me and Nick have been very successful with celebrities. We each have a couple, for instance, Tim Allen ones, cool cards, Toy Story ones. I even have a garbage pail for Tim Allen. And it just all comes down to just being polite and asking. So with any of this process, right, it's write a nice note, not a long note, because they don't have time to read a long note. It's probably, I don't know, a paragraph long. Really enjoy your work and so film. Would mean the world to me if you could sign this card. And that's pretty much it. You could add a little bit more, but that's pretty much it. And you can trust these websites. These addresses are true, and they'll get back to you. Don't overcomplicate what's in the envelope. Like, there are times that it works, sometimes it doesn't, but as long as it's not an expensive card, I wouldn't even include a case, because a lot of these celebrities, they don't want, if you make it really easy for them, they'll sign it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have a case and they have to take the card out of the case. It's just, they might not want to be bothered. So
interesting.
I do that. I do want you, now that you asked me about celebrities, I do want you to tell the story of Jerry Seinfeld and how you got that one, because that's a whole nother angle on how you can go after.
That's
signatures.
right. That's right. I forgot about this. So I'll tell this story, and then I think we'll do our Madness U segment for the audience after that. We you started to get into how to do TTM.
No, sorry.
Yeah, no, we'll take. Come on, man. It's exciting stuff. So
yeah.
All right. So yeah, Jerry Seinfeld. I was like, man, this guy's impossible. Went on Star Tiger. Nobody's ever had any success through his agency, his house, nothing like that. Huge Seinfeld fan. I've got Seinfeld stuff in my office, and I wanted his autograph. So I thought to myself, okay, he's on tour right now. That's interesting. So, all right, can you write like to these venues? How do you time that? That sort of thing. And I gave it a shot. So he was in Florida. I mailed it so that it arrived like 3 days before. It was a nice Topps card. And I just, included the Sharpie and everything, and I got it back like 3 days later, and it was totally signed by him. I should have dug it out for the pod, but it's a really nice card. It came back like a 9/10 too. It was crazy, and it was beautiful. So then I got greedy, and I'm a big fan of the Junior Mint episode where Kramer accidentally drops a Junior Mint in a patient that's getting operated on. And so I sent Jerry a Junior Mint box at another venue further on down the line. And it was signed like Jerry Seinfeld, like they misspelled the name. Like it was very clearly like somebody that worked at the venue just felt bad. And they're like, all right, let's just sign this. So that one didn't work out, but I was 1 for 2. And, I was super happy to get it. And so venues are another way to do it. Singers tour, actors tour, comedians tour, try to get Joe Rogan or something like that. Just you might get lucky. So yeah, venues are totally cool. You can send to them too.
The singers one is, so when you told me about the Seinfeld story, this is probably, I don't know, maybe it was like 6 months ago when you actually were successful with that one. The singers and the bands, like the rock bands, that got me thinking, because when I'm looking at all these forums, you don't really see many singers and different bands on these. So I do think that, unless they're retired, some of the older ones you definitely can. But I think the venues is a good route to take, especially for musicians. I think that's a really solid route if you're trying to get them.
I agree.
Yeah.
So one common denominator for most of these is that you got to mail the card. So I think now is a good time for Madness University. So we can dive into this. So when LZ and I say TTM, that's really simple. That just stands for through the mail. It's just a fancy, fast way of saying it. So when you want to mail something to somebody, there's a few things you're going to need. You need the thing you're going to mail. It's probably a card, but it could be a Funko box flattened out or something like that. We'll stick with a card, keep it simple. Going to mail a card. Need an envelope, need a stamp, need their address. That's easy stuff. Then there's just a little bit of thinking, right? So you've got your like regular envelope. Then within that, I think it's called a number 6 envelope. That's what I use. Some people take another envelope and just fold it. But I don't like to do that just because it might get messed up in the mail. So I include just a smaller envelope, still holds the card, but it fits inside the bigger envelope. You want to make sure, and this is critical, don't send it unless you do this. You put a stamp on that smaller envelope, you write your address on that smaller envelope, and you make it so that they don't even have to lick the thing. You make sure that envelope is just peel the strip off, slap it on.
That's self-addressed stamp envelope.
Bingo.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you got your card, you got your self-addressed stamped envelope, and you got your envelope. You're close, but you still need the letter. So that letter, I guess you could write an essay if you're like super passionate and you're really like a huge fan. I have done that for a couple, but in most cases, short and sweet. If it's a sports player, flatter them. I love this about you. This is what you've done. Like, it's amazing. I'm a huge fan. Sincerely, Nick. Right. That's a really simple way to do it. And I would handwrite them. It's a little controversial. Some people print them and sign them. Just handwrite the thing. You're asking a favor.
Definitely handwrite it, Nick.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Handwrite all of it. The envelope, everything. Handwrite everything.
Yep. I think people today appreciate a good handwritten note. If you're sending a generic typed out, question for the audience, like let's all think of this. If we get them every day. You're getting junk mail every day at your house. If you get some typed out piece of paper in the mail that looks all generic, it's like you're not going to treat that with the same respect and attention that you are if someone writes you a note. You're just not. Yeah.
Now, what we just said will get the job done. This is like your basic TTM 101. If you want to kick it up a notch, and I've done this, and I think it's why I've been successful with my sets. You could start by just like printing out a couple pictures of the player and slapping them on the envelope. It gets their attention. If you think they get a lot of mail, they get like 100 of these. If you have some pictures on it of them, they might stop, and that's probably the first one they're going to sign. Then if you want to go beyond that, I'll actually take like a 9x6 manila bubble envelope mailer thing. I'll include everything I mentioned in it, but I'll also throw the Sharpie in. I'll just buy like a bunch of Sharpies in bulk. If I specifically want like blue Sharpie on a card, I will spend that. Instead of a stamp, this is going to cost you like, $370, something like that. It's worth it if you want that color. And another tip is pirateship.com. This website's amazing. Don't even bother with the U.S. Postal Service's website. It's awful. Go on Pirate Ship, make an account. It's free. You get the just like eBay, you get access to bulk costs. So you're gonna save 20-30% right off the bat. No matter what you send, you can buy insurance on there. You can buy FedEx, UPS, U.S. Postal Service, everything you want. It's all you can see on a map where your stuff is. It's amazing. So use that. Like I said, it'll be $3.50 to $4 depending on where you're sending it. Slap it on that manila envelope. Throw a picture of the player on the back of that thing. 95% of the time, that thing's getting open first and fast. And that's how I've gotten players that just don't respond or things get lost in the mail. And if you do that, send 50 of those out, you're going to be doing pretty well.
You're going to be doing really, really well. When Nick's talking about, putting a picture on the envelope, like this isn't rocket science. It's just some packing tape.
Yeah.
Like print out a picture of the player or their celebrity, cut it out so it's not the entire paper, and just a little bit of packing tape on the envelope. That will definitely get the attention. This whole process, me and Nick talk a lot about how Nick has it built. Congratulations, the 1986 Flair. basketball set signed, I'm doing the same thing. There is roughly what, like 140 what cards?
Well, if
140
you count the base is like
stickers?
131 with the checklist, and then the
Yeah.
stickers add another.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like 141, 142.
All right, 142. I did probably at least 60 of those through TTM. So that, like, hopefully that kind of blows some people's minds. Like, this is an iconic set. And the fact that you can get 60 of them signed through the mail with just a stamp.
Yeah.
And two stamps and 2 envelopes and a handwritten note.
Sometimes it takes $10, $20 too. There are some players that they ask for a donation. I know we had Adrian Dantley on our show earlier. I think he asks for like $10 the card, something like that. And again, you can find this information on Star Tiger. And if you want it for free, I think just Google Sports Card Forum TTM. If you go on there, they also have, what the costs are. And that's, don't send a check. Just throw like a 20 in, throw a 10 in, something like that. Simple. They don't have to go somewhere and cash it. It's like effort, right? So some of them will require that, and some of them won't. Out of that 60, I'm probably in the same boat as LZ. I've gotten, if you think about that, I've probably gotten half my set through the mail, and I've probably gotten 30% of the set for free. It's
Right.
crazy. So,
Mhm.
just, get started. Send some stuff. It's fun.
Yeah,
If you got kids,
started.
like it makes mail day. Like you see the postal service coming up, and everybody's got bills and stuff like that. And that's not as much fun, but then, like, hey, maybe there's a card there today, it's pretty cool.
It's very
Awesome.
cool. Yeah.
So I hopefully that helps. If you have specific questions about how to reach somebody, in particular, or, you have somebody that you're just having a hard time reaching, reach out to me. There are other resources. We could, talk for hours about this. There's other lists and things like that. Just hit us up. I'm happy to help you out. Again, I'm Boston Card Hunter for people on audio. And LZ is Autograph Stalker.
Autograph Stalker
On Instagram.
and Instagram. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, thanks everybody for listening today. Really appreciate your time. As Nick said, feel free to reach out to us. Hopefully we can help solve some of the autograph questions you have. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, right? So we're on all the platforms. So feel free to download and listen and provide feedback to us. We would really appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple. We even have a YouTube channel. So check us out. All right, that's the pod.